The Clarenville Area Chamber of Commerce Hall of Fame recognizes individuals who have demonstrated excellence over an extended period of time, contributing to the economic well-being of the province and its people. Tonight, we will be honoring the late Ralph Mercer as we induct him into the Chamber's Business Hall of Fame. And the criteria for selection of the inductee is as follows. Have demonstrated in his or her business career an entrepreneurial spirit and have a record of outstanding entrepreneurial achievements over a reasonable period of time. Be recognized by his or her organization or profession as having made an outstanding contribution to the success of the organization or profession in support of business excellence. Must have demonstrated effective leadership, not only within his or her organization, but in the community. Be considered a role model for future generations of entrepreneurs, professionals, and business leaders, as well as other businesses in the area. Must have been a Clarenville Area Chamber of Commerce member at least at one point throughout their business and professional career. I would like to call upon Mr. Alec Balsam, who is going to do a tribute to the late Ralph Mercer.
Thank you very much. Chamber members, honored guests, friends, and the Mercer family. Ralph Kitchener Mercer, a man who I knew for some 50+ years, and I always affectionately called him Mr. Mercer. A friendly man who was seldom seen without his black pants, black tie, and a white nylon shirt. Always. Mr. Mercer was born in 1916, Balbronico, Conception Bay. His family moved to St. John's when he was in his early teens. He attended Bishop Fields College, successfully completed a bookkeeping course, and entered the workforce at St. John's. Within 6 months, he decided to work for himself and started his own business. Mr. Mercer's ambition and drive came naturally as his father, James, traveled to the Klondike, panned for gold, apparently never struck it rich. Later worked at Alberta's Peace River Valley, and finally as a union representative in a coal mine at the foot of the Rocky Mountains. He later returned home, married, and started a business which he ran till he retired. At times, Mr. Mercer would joke about his father spending $600 to pan $200 worth of gold in Klondike. It was a little joke he used to say. In 1942, Mr. Mercer married Ruby Goss of Spaniards Bay in Conception Bay. With the same natural business ability as his father before him, Mr. Mercer and his wife Ruby opened the Economy Cash Store, a retail grocery outlet on the corner of Prescott and Newgar Street, St. John's. Their hard work made this a very successful venture. There is a photo at Phillips' office at Mercer's Marine, showing the storefront at Duckworth Street, with a huge display of fresh rabbits hanging there, along with their horse and delivery cart. After the end of the Second World War, knowing that in post-war Newfoundland business would be on the rise, the Mercers in 1947 sold the Economy Cash Store, started a wholesale grocery business, and along with brother-in-law Gordon Green, formed Mercer and Green Limited. Jeffrey Green is one of 3 sons of Gordon Green. He's sitting right here at the table. Fine young man. And, they started wholesaling groceries, decided to move to Clarenville. They had no affiliation with the town, but felt it was a good place to build a future. In 1948, Mr. and Mrs. Mercer, along with their very young son, Philip Wayne, and brother-in-law, Gordon Green, moved to Clarenville, constructed an office, warehouse, and a wharf on Wharf Road, in the location now occupied by the office of Clarenville Dockyards. Mercer and Green Limited steadily grew into a large employer in the area, operating a fleet of trucks, purchasing lumber and local products, as well as supplying many stores in the Trinity and Bonavista Bay area. Mr. Mercer, realizing the need to deliver products to isolated community, formed the Clarenville Shipping Company, purchased a fleet of schooners, namely the Dauntless, the Philip Wayne, the Mercer and Green, and the queen of the fleet, the Margaret B. Tanner. Philip and I played on it many, many times. It was a beautiful boat, absolutely beautiful.
Sister ship to the Blue Notes.
And she's a sister ship to the Blue Notes, that's right, Philip. Things were going well for both the Mercers and the Greens. They built new homes on Marine Drive, where Mercer's Marine now stands. September 21st, 1955, on the same day that a Hurricane Ione, was tracking across the island with winds of 140 kilometers an hour. There was an explosion in the repair area of the warehouse due to welding repairs to a gasoline tank. The ensuing fire, fanned by the high winds, destroyed all buildings, goods, and some rolling stock, with no insurance and personal guarantees outstanding, which resulted in the demise of both Mercer and Green Limited and the Clarenville Shipping Company. Mr. Mercer, undaunted, picked up wholesale lines from Montreal, traveled all over the island. In those days, it was kind of difficult traveling around the island. Things weren't like they are now. And for traveling salesmen, it was very difficult. Many areas had to be accessed by train or boat. He did this for a few years, but then all of a sudden he started thinking, and he made about a 180-degree turn. And he decided to stay home and start a business in Clarenville. So he decided to start a poultry business. He started with a small amount of hens in his backyard and garden, and he eventually ended up with 5,000 hens there. The henry was located where Mercer's Marine Warehouse now stands on Marine Drive, at the rear of his residential home. Actually, the 5,000 hens, that's where they were, right at the rear of their home, their backyard. And Mr. Mercer worked hard collecting, grading eggs, shoveling manure, as well as door-to-door delivery of eggs. It was a local joke that Ralph Mercer was the only man in the province who shoveled manure with a white shirt. A white nylon shirt, black tie, black trousers. Eventually he purchased a parcel of land, uncleared land in the highway between Clarenville and Deep White, where he relocated the poultry business. Always willing to try something new, he imported hens from Peru that laid blue eggs. Can you imagine? Kept sheep, raised chicks. He operated the poultry business till the mid-1960s. In 1957, however, Mr. and Mrs. Mercer decided to build a store connected to their house, sell novelties, souvenirs, groceries, and other small items. The business was called Mercer's Variety Store, which eventually became Mercer's Marine, as you all know today. Mrs. Mercer mainly ran the store at first, as Mr. Mercer was busy with the poultry farm. They started opening 6 days and nights a week. This was unheard of at this time. After long hours and lots of hard work, the store began to pay off. In the mid-1960s, Mr. Mercer decided to shut down the poultry farm and concentrate on the variety store business. Philip also went to work in the business in the mid-60s, stayed till 1969, at which time he opened his own business in the then business section of town known as the Station. Some of you may remember that. Philip operated his business, the Variety Center, from 1969 to 1971, and then returned to Mercer's Variety after Mr. Mercer left for another new challenge. The Clarenville Shipyard, for years, has played an important part in the economy of the town. It had been closed for a few years when Mr. Mercer and his friend and business partner-to-be, Eliezer Hiscott, were offered the opportunity to take it over. After much discussion, and with his son Philip agreeing to return to run Mercer's variety, Ralph and Eliezer formed the Clarenville Dry Dock Limited with the assistance of a government loan. The company began operations and loan was paid full in 2 years. During the life of the company, over 50 longliners were constructed, numerous vessels were repaired. The schooner Norma and Gladys, Department of Tourism, had it all around the world. Had a complete refit. 40 and 50 people were employed there most of that time. Ralph really enjoyed his work at the dry dock and had a great admiration for the workforce. At the age of 72 and his business partner being 79, they both retired, sold their interest to the Bury Group. While in St. John's, visiting his wife after an open heart surgery of Mrs. Mercer, Mr. Mercer suffered a serious stroke. He spent the next 5 years at his home, but in a hospital bed before passing away in 1995 at age 79. However, he was in his bed for 5 years. He never stopped thinking and he never stopped talking. And he had the work ethic there, irregardless. And he always was asking Philip what was going on, and he had his hand on everything that was happening. No question about it. I can guarantee you that. Now I got to find out where I was. Pardon me. His wife Ruby passed away 2 years later at the age of 74. A lovely, lovely person. Mr. Mercer had never been afraid to try something new. Hard work was second nature to him. He had a great love of hockey, and in his younger years he was one of the people involved in developing the sport in Clarenville. He was elected mayor of the town in 1955. His favorite pastime was visiting his childhood home of Upper Island Cove, where he was affectionately known as Ralphie Dude by his friends. I remember many times at his home, Mr. Mercer would stock his fireplace. Mrs. Mercer would get a little mad with him because he put so much wood. He'd get as much wood in there as he possibly could and get the fire going. And he'd lie back and have the TV on and be watching a hockey game. And a cool drink in his hand. And the minute you walk in the door, you had to have something to eat or something to drink or something. That's the way he was. Quite a gentleman. During his life, and still continuing today, Mr. Mercer's hard work, foresight, resulted in many hundreds of jobs in the Clarenville area, adding greatly to the prosperity of the town and area. Throughout his life, Mr. Mercer was very well liked by all who knew him, a willing, active participant in community affairs, and most of all, a good, kind, generous person to all. He was above all a good husband, father, and a wonderful grandfather. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Balsam. And I had neglected to mention that you are a longtime family friend and that you did indeed grow up with Mr. Mercer's son, Philip. So thank you very much for that wonderful storytelling. Certainly well deserving of tonight's award. I should also mention that in your package, the bio of Ralph Mercer is provided. Many of the excerpts of what Mr. Balsam had talked about is in there, including a couple of photographs, and especially the one showing the brace of rabbits outside of the store. So we certainly want to refer you to that so you can take some time to read up on that yourselves a little later. And I would like to call upon, again, the Honorable Minister Wiseman to do the presentation, and if Philip Mercer and his family would please come forward. And I should say, I should have taken the other awards out of the boxes, and I had forgotten to do that. So we have, I have this award removed from the box so you can actually see it.
Turn around this way.
Yeah, works better this way.
I look better this way.
You're too modest. Hold that smile. Now, Mrs. Mercer, don't move. Okay.
That's good.
And before I pass it back to our chair for final comments, I just wanted to remind for those of you that have won awards tonight and the directors, if you wouldn't mind staying behind for a few moments for some picture taking. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your evening, and congratulations to everyone.